Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Tobin here with you. Miami Heat have dropped their third in a row as they fall to the New York Knicks, 101-92, and find themselves now 40-37 on the season. A really, really good game back and forth, to be honest with you. It was very, very competitive. A pretty enjoyable watch from a lot of guys on the team. None of those guys were Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, or Tyler Hero tonight. The three stars of this team, I mean, really just gave such a letdown performance in, was a game that was a bit of a offensive struggle by today's day and age. You're talking just cracking over 100 points, and you can't crack 95 if you're Miami, and you're just three stars were just absolutely nowhere to be found tonight. Bam Adebayo got off to a better start tonight. I thought it was a much more spirited effort, especially on the defensive side of things, and then rebounding. But then turnover troubles hit him again, and it really felt like that messed with him. And it does feel like he's playing a little bit inside his head. Does not feel like a guy who's playing with a whole lot of confidence right now. It does feel like a guy who's thinking out the game, not feeling the game very much, which has been a tough go of it. Jimmy Butler tonight, this is how it's just not a game where Miami's really trying to impact it on the inside. You look at a game like tonight, and one of Miami's strengths, especially their two-star strengths, and especially their alpha strength, is getting to the free throw line, and you have Jimmy and Bam tonight going to combine 3 for 4 from the free throw line. And, that's just not typically the way things are going to go. Now, there was a big call that did hose them late in this one. Now, things were going in a bad direction. I'm not going to say that this cost Miami the game, but once again, it was a very big swing play, and I would say the last 3 minutes that definitely took the absolute wind out of the sails if there was going to be any comeback. And it was Jimmy. Heat is up. Heat is down 9 at this point, 94-85, and Jimmy gets called for a double dribble by the official after he hits a turnaround jumper over Josh Hart. So what happened was Josh Hart knocked the ball out of his hands, and Jimmy gets the ball back, dribbles, turns around, hits it off the glass, and it goes in. But they go to review, and they come back and they say, yeah, we missed the call, but Jimmy Butler doesn't get the 2 points. He just gets the ball back with 4 seconds on the shot clock, which, if that makes any sense in the world to you, figure it out. I don't understand that at all. Again, not not the main reason they lost. Maybe they go on to lose anyway, but Jesus, that pisses me off. How are you just going to wipe 2 points up? This has been a very back and forth game. It's been a game full of runs. This game started off down 8-0. Then the Heat go on a 14-0 run, and then the Knicks go on 8-0 runs to retake the lead. This was a game that was full of swings, and the officials taking that one away from the Heat, taking 2 points away from the Heat was absolutely brutal. So they get the inbounds. Bam gets the ball. It's just staring at the rim, doesn't shoot it for whatever the hell reason, and ends up being a unfortunate way for Miami. They did end up cutting it to 7 the next time around. Barron put up an air ball. Jimmy put back in, and that was all she wrote. Jimmy bricked a layup. RJ Barrett hit a 3-point dagger, and just a really, really disheartening performance. And at this point, you can't even say these things are surprising, because this team, this last handful of games, have just looked the worst version of themselves ever since having that highly emotional win against this Knicks team with D-Wade in the building. And you have tonight where it's like you're there in New York. You have the MSG, the history. And it was a good back and forth game. I mean, you had some great performances today from Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, who was, just brought out of nowhere. I think he played his most minutes since late December today. Was giving you some stuff from downtown. Max Drews had 3 fouls in 3 minutes. So Spo is rats off a shit, but Spo is just has definitely done this, and I'm just saying this right now. I'm doing this. I may go and listen to the post game. I'm not listening to the post game right now. I may go listen to the post game and react to some of that stuff as well to see if anything interesting comes out of that. Because hearing him after the Raptors game, talk about the will of this team and we have the want to, nobody wants to go, and then again you go and get crushed on the boards by a dozen. This team has just talked such a bigger game and has acted with such a brash arrogance about them turning it around or getting ready. And I just think that the actions just haven't been there, man. They're just there. They haven't been a team that can put anything consistent together. Hell, they can't put 4 quarters to game, let alone 4 games. And, with 5 games left in the season, you got a game coming up against the Mavericks at home. I don't know at this point. You had the Nets today get themselves another win, so they pull even further ahead of Miami in the standings. So play-in is starting to look very, very likely for Miami right now, which will, likely set you up in the best case scenario with a first round series against the Celtics. Although deja vu, if the Heat even win in the play-in at this point, we should just completely do a reflection style of the run it back season and take on the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round. If we're just going to go completely mirror image of that season, that's kind of almost poetic of how things have gone. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those nights where you got some nice spirited efforts from your role guys. You got a nice start of the, Vic had a really, really tough game, but did kind of come to life there in the start of the fourth quarter. But once again, Kevin Love in the starting lineup. I mean, the dude is just building a brick house like a third little pig every time he goes out there. I mean, at this point, you might as well just start Duncan Robinson. Like, let's get froggy with it. Let's just try something, right? Like just to snap it out of the funk. Duncan even looked like nice defensively today. But ultimately, you can't go into a game like this and you can't get a must-win game and get 12 points from Jimmy Butler and 9 from Bam Adebayo. You can't. You can't get a 6 of 16 from Tyler Hero and Tyler was great the night before. Look, he was. So, maybe it's too much to ask for Boy Wonder to give you back-to-back efforts like that, but just though it falls on those 3 guys and those 3 guys alone. To have 92 points in this type of game where you're going back for back, shot for shot, and just to completely wilt the way that they did is unbelievably disappointing to see. And like, you just kind of throw your hands up and be and as fans and be, you can't want them more than they do. And it's all in their hands, and sometimes it's slipping out of their hands and ended up on the Knicks for an alley-oop on the other side. So I think that it's crazy to think what the balance of this season has been, because you think back to just a week ago, doing what they did in their building to this very team, in the way that they did it, with the emotion that they did it, and for it to be followed by blowout loss to the team right in front of you, to handled loss to a team right behind you, to just completely falling apart late against another team you're chasing. If that gives you any indication this team is just not ready for playoff battles, I don't know what will. I don't know. And I think most people know that I've had mostly, I don't want to say a positive outlook on this season, but I've been very hopeful that at one point it was going to all click to the team that was in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. But this second half of the season, or this post All-Star break version of the Heat, is less encouraging than even the earlier part of the season, even with some good stuff along the way of like, Kyle looks a little bit more spirited coming off the bench. That's nice. Caleb Martin looks a little bit more comfortable coming off the bench. That's nice. And Jimmy Butler was playing balls to the wall. He was playing outstanding. And Tyler Hero, wouldn't have like the most even games, but usually would come on with some clutch baskets. But from the lack of production from Kevin Love, the drop off in Bam Adebayo's game, and just the overwhelming amount of now just handled losses. Like this was a team that always would fight and had some real frustrating ones and had some real lead let-ups, would always make it close or lose. The margins were always very close. We were talking about how the season was aging, and now it's just like they seem to just, all right, once the air's out of the balloon, the air's out. They don't seem to have that same spirit that they had. And I don't know if they could just see the finish line and don't think that this team has a shot and they're all ready to venture off to Cancun, or maybe by all against all odds and in all improbabilities they have one last run in them before the end of this thing. But if you're telling me that this team is going to do that after seeing these performances the last 3 games, man, I would say I'd be pretty stunned by that. And what a disappointing ending to tonight.